There we go. The mic was off. Yeah, yeah. I tell you, some days, every day. I'm like this every day. Don't let me lie. I did drink a lot of Vietnamese coffee before this, so yeah. So again, I just said with the mic off, uh, still working on camera angles, trying to figure out the best way to get glare off and lighting issues and blah blah blah. And honestly, I don't work on it a lot behind the scenes because I just don't get around to it. Um, so tonight I'm going to be talking about another group of hikers who met a mysterious and utterly horrifying end. Similar to the Dyatlov Pass, the people who know about that know it's pretty covered. I'm not going to cover it here. Maybe I will someday, but I consider that case to be solved. Pretty horrifying, but solved. Yes, thank you, Bleak. I never would have known that if you hadn't said something. Um, Also reminds me a lot of the Yuba County 5 that I talked about last week. Except for this time, there is a survivor. And I also was saying right before I realized the audio wasn't on, that my friend Bleak Rides here in the comments, he does a show, videos, live streams about true crime and motorcycle content. So check out his channel and give him a like and sub. And if you're into that kind of stuff, it's pretty cool. Still watching some of his back videos. So I don't know about this camera. I feel like I'm looking at it, but then when I look down, all I can see is myself looking down. Anyway, so and I know I'm gonna butcher the Russian names, and I apologize. Any of my Russian speaking viewers will have to apologize for my. I tried to write them out phonetically. I did know most of the names. You know how I am. I forget the names, forget the dates. So this is the Khamar-Daban Incident. It took place in the mountains of Siberia, pretty far east of Moscow, but still like with in that kind of. I guess it's not all the same. I mean, Russia's like 5 times the size of the United States or something, but that's my basis for comparison. So this happened pretty recently. My God, 1993. That's how you know when you're getting older. You're like, oh, that was just a few years ago. 1993, that was literally 30 years ago. Fuck me. So in August of 1993, a group of 6 hikers and their, I don't know if you'd call it a leader. The leader of this expedition. My God. That's that Vietnamese coffee, I'm telling you. It really hits like nothing else. They are all experienced hikers. Some of them were young. I believe the youngest was 16. I didn't write that down. The leader of the group, her name was Ludmila Korovina. And yeah, I am looking down. I did actually write stuff down this time because I pronounced the names wrong. I did it on the last stream, and I'll do it on this one too. She was 41. She was a well-known like tourist hiker person. She would, as in, I mean, she would take out groups of tourists on hikes. Everybody in the community seemed to respect her. They knew that she was a survivalist, very experienced. All of these 6 people that she took with her were also very experienced hikers. And I had some pictures, but I didn't put them on here. So if you want to know anything about this case, just look it up. It's not hard to find. There was 24-year-old Tatiana Filipenko, which she looks so much younger than that in her picture. There was 23-year-old Alexander Kreisen, and everybody called him Sasha. There's something about that name. This might sound like, I don't know, racist, but everybody there in Russia, everybody is like Igor or Yuri or Sasha. That's like, there's so many Yuris and Sashas over there. So Alexander or Sasha, he was very, very close to Ludmila. She had known him since he was a little kid. She considered him like a son to her. And then I don't have the ages on these other people, but there was Denis Vachin, Victoria Zalasova, Tamar Babanov, Valentina Yurichenko. Eh. So Valentina Yurichenko, and then again the leader was Ludmila Korovina. And sometimes some people refer to this as the Korovina Incident. So they were going to go on I think it was a 3 or 4 day hiking trip in the mountains there in Siberia, and they were actually going to meet up on the 4th with another group of hikers that was led by Ludmila's daughter, Natalia, who was 16 at the time. So this is a whole hiking family. Like, everybody's involved in it. It's a thing they do. Ludmila was an expert in, and I use the term expert as that's how people around her referred to her, in foraging and wildlife survival. She knew this area very, very well. So they head out, and the weather had predicted that it was going to be a fair to nice weather. I mean, the whole time. And this is in the summer, which it does get cold, in the mountains, but they didn't pack any extremely warm clothing. Moderate, but not super warm. So they get up there and they're hiking, and the weather turns. The weather was supposed to be nice, but then all of a sudden it started raining, freezing rain, and the temperature dropped dramatically, and everybody was wet, and there ended up being massive snowstorms moving through the area that they weren't prepared for. And this, under ordinary circumstances, shouldn't have been that big of a problem, because they've all camped, hiked in this weather before. They just weren't prepared for it at this time. And so they decided to break camp on this open slope with no other shelter. Although that in and of itself is a mystery, because 30 meters away was a group of forests, or like a group of trees. And then in the opposite direction, there was actually a shelter that had firewood and was all set up to, like, if somebody got stranded out there, that they could. Hi, kitty. That's Baby, my office cat. My hospice adoption cat. So there were better places to camp than this open, exposed slope. And there's a lot of theories on why did she pick this spot. That kind of reminds me of the Dyatlov Pass, because they did the same thing. They put their tent up in a weird spot, even though better places were right around the way. And so, hey, what's up? WTRD radio. Shout out to WTRD. And now the cat is up on the shelf with a bunch of breakable shit. So give me just a second to deal with that. Come on. Come on, baby. Get out of there. Come on. Come here, baby. Come on. Oh, I got you. I got you. All right. I got her. So one of the reasons I think that there's a lot of theories on why they camped in this weird place. My personal opinion on that is I think that maybe Ludmila saw this as a learning experience for the team on how to survive in unideal conditions. Or maybe everybody was just so tired and wet, they just wanted to stop, like, right fucking now. And other people have speculated maybe they saw something in the trees that they didn't want to go down there. I don't know. I always lean back to Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is usually the right one. She was all about taking opportunities that came up to teach people. Hi, Matt. She took all the opportunities she could to teach them things as they arose. And so it doesn't surprise me. So either they were just wet and not loving life at that moment and just wanted to stop right now, or she wanted to teach them about this. So WTRD is actually my husband, just so you know. So they're here, they're camped on this weird slope, they last the night, and then the next day they get up, they're getting ready to break camp. They start to kind of tear things down, and they're walking, and this is where things start to take that turn. For everything from this point forward is reported by the lone survivor. There was one survivor. She initially talked to the police 3 days, 4 days after all of this occurred, and then she was literally silent for 20 years about it. I don't know if there is an actual gag order put on her. I know there was a gag order put on certain members of her family. So I don't know if there was a gag order or if she just was traumatized as fuck, which I would be, and didn't want to talk about it. So everything from here on out is basically her. Now there's dogs outside the door. Everything from here on out is her recollection of and her report on what happened. They were walking, and all of a sudden, Sasha stopped, and he just fell to the ground. And they said his eyes were wide, and he just had this horrified look on his face. And so Ludmilla says, everybody just keep going. I'm going to go back, see what's wrong with him. So she goes back to him, and he's just staring up at her, and she checks his pulse, and she says, well, he's not breathing. And then she's like, wait, come back, help me with him. And this is somebody who's been like her son. So she is, of course, just distraught. And so they start to come back, and she collapses on top of Sasha. This is Ludmilla, the leader of the group. She collapses on top of him, and then everything just goes berserk from here. Valentina said that the other members of the group started foaming at the mouth, bleeding from their noses. She went back to talk to Victoria, and Victoria bit her like a rabid animal. They started tearing their clothes off, clutching at their necks. Just utter chaos. And she doesn't know what's going on. Tatiana actually started banging her head against a rock until she lost consciousness. So this whole crazy, everybody's foaming at the mouth and blood, and she's banging her head on a rock until she literally beat herself to unconsciousness. And at this point, Dennis is also still up. And he tells Valentina, he says, run. And so she starts to run, and as she's running, he also collapses with the same symptoms. And she runs down to the tree line and waits for a while there. And after a few hours, she came back, and everybody was dead. So all the other people in the group, Tatiana, Sasha, Ludmilla, Dennis, Victoria, Tamar, all deceased within a few minutes of each other. Well, she saw them all collapse and not get up again within a few minutes of each other. She went back later and grabbed just what little supplies she could get. She said she closed their eyes and went back down to the tree line. She ended up staying the night there. And when she awoke the next day, of course, everybody was still dead. She said they did not rise again, was the translation of how she put that. And so she started wandering in the woods. She saw some telephone poles with wires. They're not clear out in the wilderness. I mean, they're out there, but they're not Dyatlov Pass level of remote. I mean, they're still within, At one point, she followed these telephone lines. She found an abandoned village. There was nobody there. So she ended up spending 3 days in the woods, and some people who were like kayaking down the river found her, and they said she just looked haggard and exhausted and horror. Like they said they could see the horror on her face as to that something horrific had happened to this girl. And so her initial account to police was basically the account that we hear here. And if you look at a lot of stories about this, which I have watched a ridiculous amount and read articles about it, there are some of the stuff does vary. There's varying accounts. Some people will say that, you know, they bled from their ears too. I've only heard that a couple of times. But so some of the stuff is a little bit inconsistent, which is kind of how that is with a lot of these cases. You know, it's kind of like playing telephone. One person reports it, and another person watches their report, and then maybe they, you know, by the time it gets down the line so far, things are added, subtracted that maybe weren't. So everything has to be taken with a grain of salt. God, especially with me, because I probably misquote shit all the time, say the wrong days, misquote the names for sure. So here we are. She survived, the others didn't. And it took about 2 to 3 weeks for them to go back and get the bodies. They were pretty much as she described it. Of course, by this point, they'd been laying out for a couple of weeks, and so they took them back, and there's that. Well, the medical examiner who did the... Good evening. Hi, Gigi's befouled van. It's always a pleasure to see you. The medical examiner, this is where things start to get weird, not in the sense of what happened, but what happened afterwards. The medical examiner found that out of the 6 that passed away, 5 of them died from hypothermia. Hypothermia exacerbated by protein malnutrition. And they said that Ludmila, at 41 years old, and she was in very, very good physical health, died of a heart attack. Now, maybe she had a heart condition that we don't know about. Who knows? As far as protein malnutrition, that one I don't really agree with. And this is reported by Valentina later, that they had accounted for 2,400 calories worth of food for each person for each day of the trip. She reported they had beans, they had chocolate, onions. They had enough food to last for all these people. So if they were starving, that they'd only been out there for like 2 days. I mean, they haven't been out there for weeks, long enough to get protein malnutrition. That just doesn't, it just didn't, with the physiologic knowledge of the human body, that doesn't seem to quite jibe. And also these people they died of hypothermia. Granted, it was cold enough to kill someone, but all of them within the tearing off of clothes with hypothermia. But I remember correctly, didn't this happen during summer? Okay, it did happen during summer, but it was in the mountains, and there was an unexpected snowstorm that came through. Late stages of hypothermia do cause people to have what they call paradoxical undressing. Like when you're dying of freezing to death, you're like, all of a sudden you're like, oh God, I'm so hot. And you just rip all your clothes off and die faster, obviously. But that takes time, and it would be over a period of time. And that's one of the things that weirds me out about this case, because if you see other people who freeze to death, usually it's like this person fell first, and then, you know, hours later, the next person. It doesn't usually happen so close together like that. And so I don't know about paradoxical undressing. That doesn't seem, in my mind at least, to fit with this case. And what about the foaming at the mouth, the bleeding from the noses? What's her name banging her head against a rock? You know, Sasha just dropped dead basically instantly, and then so did Ludmila, just boom, right on top of him. So I don't, the hypothermia thing just does not jibe with me. all those people dying that close together. It kind of reminds me of the Dyatlov Pass, where they say that a lot of them died from hypothermia. That I could see. They were like literally in the snow, half naked. Yeah, I mean, that one makes a little bit more sense. So some of the theories around this, and there is another thing about the protein deprivation thing. I only heard it one time and I can't remember the details of it. There is another condition that can cause that in the short term, like something that burns the protein up out of your cells really quick. But I that's a rabbit hole for a different day, because I only heard that once and I don't remember the exact physiologic details of it. So there's things like, and I didn't write this down, so I'm flying by the seat of my pants on this part, but there are things that can cause foaming at the mouth, like pulmonary edema is when your lungs fill up with fluid rapidly. That can cause frothing at the mouth, usually pink tinge, like there's burst blood vessels in your lungs. So it'd be like pink and frothy. What would cause more than one person to have that at the same time? Now these are young, healthy people. These aren't like 80-year-old people with COPD who you wouldn't be surprised if I mean, it sucks, but people die of pulmonary edema. I mean, that's what my dog died of, basically. But it doesn't just come on a bunch of young people suddenly like that. They weren't malnourished overall. And so what happened to them? Now, here's where we're going to get in, and this is my favorite part, the speculation. What happened to these people? And there's a bunch of theories. There's even more theories to this probably than there is the Dyatlov Pass. And I think a lot of these ones are more credible because aliens are on the list. The first one of the first theories as to what happened to these people, and I didn't write them down in any particular order, is that maybe they ate some bad mushrooms or something. Okay, Ludmilla was a forager of mushrooms and other items. The thing about mushroom foraging, because I'm a forager, if you don't, as an experienced forager, which she was, if you have a mushroom that you don't know what it is, you don't fucking eat it. And when you learn the characteristics of certain mushrooms, once you learn to identify them, even if there are lookalikes, most of them are pretty easily identified if you know what you're looking for. I know about 6 different mushrooms that I would be 100% confident that I'd be like, I know what this is. I'm okay eating it. I really doubt that she would have picked and ate and or fed something to these kids not knowing 100% what it was. So I think that theory doesn't have credibility to me. I don't think that they poisoned themselves by something that they ate. Although the mushroom theory does fit some of the symptoms. Then we have the spirit theory, that she angered the mountain spirit. And this is also something that you'd have to look into if you're curious about it. I can't remember the name of the root and the plant, but there was a plant there that the natives say you're only supposed to harvest for your personal use. If you take more than what you need, you'll anger the spirits. And apparently she did have a backpack full of it. Like maybe she was selling it or something. I don't know. Angering the spirits, that's not very... I try to keep a logical mind for a lot of things as a logical person. So angering the spirits doesn't really hold a lot of credibility to me. At least not in that aspect, as that's what killed these people. Angering the spirits, I do believe that's a thing that you can do, but I don't believe it would cause a catastrophic death event like this. Infrasound. Infrasound is another one. And again, infrasound is a real thing. It's a subclinical, like most people can't actually hear it. Okay, I'm gonna pause and I'm gonna look at this chat here. I have Deus says, so my coworkers are arguing about period blood. At what point is tasering dumbasses at nowadays? Well, tasering people is still a crime. You can't just taser people. What's this about the period blood? I mean, Is it a legitimate argument, or like, because we can't hold it in or anything. That's not a thing. So infrasound, and while we wait for him to respond, infrasound is something that can cause some people to feel nauseated or uneasy. Sometimes people can vomit. In rare cases, they can pass out from it. There's a lot of examples of this in movies. They'll actually add infrasound to movies, like, I know I'm going to pronounce it wrong. It's a French movie, Irreversible. Irreversible? Yeah, bad. That movie had infrasound added to it to deliberately... My thoughts on skinwalkers? Let me finish this first thought. Infrasound only affects, like, I believe, if my numbers are correct, about 30% of the population. Worst case scenario with infrasound, unless it was weaponized somehow, which we don't currently know how to do that. I don't think that that's also credible, because there's not enough. Most people would just get nauseated from it, and they'd just be like, well, that sucks. Whatever. I don't think it's something that would kill people. Skinwalkers, we're going to come back to that. That, Matt, I love that question. I want to stick a little bit to the story right now, but I love reading about skinwalkers. I know they've been kind of... American media has kind of taken the story of the skinwalker and run with it. I have a lot of thoughts about that. So that's something I might actually do a stream about. I don't know. I don't like talking about them, just for the simple fact that people say that if you talk about them, it draws their attention. I highly doubt there's here any in this city, in the middle of an urban area, that give a shit about my white ass. So, but yeah, I'll come back to that, Matt. I'll come back to that. All right, the next theory is that they saw something that they weren't supposed to, and the Russian government killed them. This is a pretty populated area. These woods aren't remote. They're not near any military bases that we're aware of. The thought that they saw something they weren't supposed to see really doesn't, again, hold a lot of water for me. And if the government was set on... hang on a second, my kid's coming in. What's that, buddy? Hi. Mommy's doing a stream. I'll be out in a little bit.
Don't let the dogs out.
Okay, I won't. Well, close the door, dude. And he knocked over the broom. Okay. So the government, if the government was so set on killing these people, why did they let Valentina just waltz off like nothing?
Yay.
And plus, there's tons of people in these woods. Not tons, but enough. Yeah, you knocked over the broom, and now the door's stuck, so close the door. Buddy, I'm streaming.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. You know how it is when you have a little kid.
It's gone.
If you have a kid, you know how this goes. It's one of those things. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes people's kids used to get on my nerves for things like this. He's coming in.
Hi.
Hi. You want to say hi to the people?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, I dropped my 2x2.
Your 2x2 Rubik's Cube?
Yeah.
Go play your Nintendo, bud.
Ah.
But once you have a kid, you realize how it really is. Yeah, I used to tell myself I was going to be one of those moms, like, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. Yeah, you learn real fucking quick that real life is not like that. All right, so the government, I don't think they would have left a survivor. And I don't see what they would have saw out there that was so private they had to kill everyone. It's a pretty populated area. There's a lot of people hiking through these woods all the time. They're designated hiking trails there, shelter set up. It's meant for people to go there and hike. Now, the last two, even though I said I didn't write these down in any particular order, I didn't. But the last two are the ones that I find the most likely. Number one, some sort of weather phenomena. And I come back to that a lot with a lot of this stuff. But there are certain types of weather phenomena that they have proven exist both here and in the Dyatlov Pass. But it's some sort of very localized wind, barometric pressure drop tunnel thing. I don't remember the exact name of it. It does happen. They're so rare to where this wind phenomena will come and it will drop the pressure so fast or raise the pressure so fast. Oh shit, my camera. All right, I gotta unplug it and plug it back in. Sorry, my computer is kind of one of my USB ports cuts in and out, and I touched the cord and it cut it out. So let's try that again. And I'm back. So this weather thing, it can drop and raise the barometric pressure quickly, and one of the symptoms of that is pulmonary edema. But this is so rare for it to catch these people. I think that's a credible example of something that could have happened. It just doesn't hit me in my heart, and I can't think of what that's called again. I guess I should probably write all this stuff down, but you know me, you guys know me. If this is something that interests you, it's easy to find out there. And not a lot of people have talked about the weather thing, though. And then my personal thoughts on what really happened to them is toxic gas. Now, this might be a little bit more far-fetched than some explanations, but they used to test over there in Soviet Russia. They would test nerve agents very nearby to where they were, and they actually had underground storage facilities there near where they were. Lake Nyos incident. You know, ironically enough, Sean, you should say that, because in my little handy dandy notebook here, about 2 hours ago, I was writing down topic ideas, and the very next one on my list, I guess you can't see it right there, Lake Nyos. So, Sean, you got me on that one. A body of water let out a bunch of carbon dioxide, and this is actually on my list of topics to cover on this show. Lake Nyos was in Cameroon? Was it Cameroon? There's some sort of volcanic activity underneath this lake, and the way the lake was, I don't want to say built, that's not the right, but just the way it was formed, all this carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, whichever, it was trapped underneath this lake. Well, they believe there was like a seismic activity or something, and this gas came out and killed a shitload of people in the night. And the thing that makes that the most disturbing, and I'm going to bring this up even though this isn't the episode for that could happen again at any time. And there are literally millions of people living right on the shores of this lake, and it is a ticking fucking death time bomb. It could go off anytime and just fucking annihilate everybody there. Terrifying. But yeah, that's a topic for another day. There was one survivor. Yeah, the guy. It was like an old guy, right? He went into the other villages and he was like, "Oh, everybody's dead down here." I don't know. Wasn't he like sleeping in a tree or on the roof of a car or something? So, but yeah, I think that there could have been some sort of nerve agent that they were walking up a slope with the weather conditions the way they were. It could have condensed this nerve gas that had either naturally escaped, or maybe when they dug a hole for their fire pit, they dug it up. He was in a home or something. I might be thinking of a different case. I know there's something similar to that where the guy was sleeping in a tree or on the roof of a car or something. But it might have been a different one. I get a lot of these stories jumbled up in my head because I listen to so utter much of them. There are people who used to be in the Russian government who say that their gases were more stable than people think, and that they could have, that they were testing them in that area, and that they did dump a lot of nerve agents out into the countryside. And that sounds a little far-fetched to my own brain, but as far as my logic can go, that sounds like the most. And the reason that Valentina survived is maybe she just was far enough away when all this went down, or maybe the wind just didn't catch it and bring it to her. Like maybe she just didn't get a whiff of it or whatever. And so, and these are some of the symptoms that those nerve agents would have caused in people. I don't know. I say that a lot. I don't know. I just, none of the theories are solid to me. They're really not. None of these really, to me, explain it. I know sure as fuck these 6 people did not die of hypothermia and a fucking heart attack. Like, it's not a thing. That's ridiculous. And for the reasons that I already stated, like so close together, hypothermia doesn't cause you to bang your fucking head against a rock until you lose consciousness. I mean, this sounds like a horrifying way to die, clutching at yourself, blood coming out of your nose, foaming at the mouth. Some people have even suggested stuff like, so there are more theories even out there than there are. I mean, some people have said that it could have been rabies, which is so unlikely I didn't even really put it on that list, because rabies takes days to present. They would have all had to contract it somehow, which, unless they're biting each other or having sex with each other, all within, it was too rapidly progressing, and on and on and on. So there's so many weird theories. It's just, I can't even begin to speculate on. Of course I am speculating, but which one of these theories seems the most likely? You got, the angry spirits, they ate some weird mushrooms. You got nerve agents that were built up in the countryside. It was depriving them of oxygen near the end. True. But what truly deprived them of oxygen was the fluid buildup in their lungs, because they, even on autopsy, they said they had pulmonary edema. What caused that? What causes rapid pulmonary edema in otherwise healthy people? And again, like I said, bloody noses don't correlate with that. Or so there's, it's the physical symptom. And again, a lot of this is her account. So was she wrong? Was she lying? I doubt it. At least on some of the, at least on some of that stuff. It just sounds, it's out there. It's so far out there. And that's why I think I fixate on this the way I used to with the Dyatlov Pass, because none of the theories really set with the Dyatlov Pass. They're talking about the mountain spirits again, and the native people, the Russian government, aliens, Bigfoot. I mean, really, Bigfoot people, get the fuck out. And then, but with the Dyatlov Pass case, they said, oh, well, what about this? What about this? All of those whatabouts could really be broken down into what caused that was this, what caused this was that. And ultimately, the past one was a serial killer. Oh, Sean, we're going to have a talk. We're going to have a talk after this. What's up, Night Shroud? How's it going? So after Valentina told the police what happened about this, she didn't talk about it for another 20 years. And here we are. And pretty much when she talked about it again, her story didn't really change much. I mean, yeah, had a great week. Good. It's been an all right week for me. I did find out today that my car is totaled, so we're going to deal with that. Other than that, not a lot of stuff going on, which is good. Like, keep it on. Just let's not fuck with everything. My nursing license audit is closed. Yay, I get to continue my career. That was just because I renewed it past the date, so I had to send all the paperwork in. More of a pain in the ass than anything. So, yeah. It's piddly shit. It's just more annoying and like one more thing to have to deal with. So ultimately, we might never know what caused the deaths of these people. And again, these mountains, people are all over them all the time. And nothing like this has happened since, at least not in that area. There are tons and tons and tons of stories about Russian hikers either disappearing, which we have that here in America too. That's everywhere you go. I kind of want to get into that, Sean. The thing about the serial killer, the Dyatlov Pass. All right, we're gonna go there. I'm gonna shift position, and I'll probably unplug my camera again. There's so many people there. There was 9 people there. Would one serial killer be able to? Hey, thanks, Bleak. I'll talk to you later, bud. There were so many of them. Would one serial killer be able to take out all these people? I mean, I don't know. There was they cut their way out from the inside of the tent. If there was a serial killer, why would they become disoriented and cut their way out of the tent? My old theories on what happened to them don't really hold up in the face 100% in the face of, because they reopened that case in 2019. The postmortem wounds are consistent with, in my mind, consistent with some of what happened, because if they did get hit by a slab avalanche, that's what the Russian government, so again, a little bit of grains of salt with that, they did say that the slab avalanche is what caused their demise ultimately. And I actually think that's pretty fucking, that pretty much did it for me. The postmortem wounds, some of the stuff was, one guy had like bitten his knuckles, basically eaten part of his own hand. He might have done that after he was starting to freeze and his hands were all frozen. Maybe they hurt so bad. Like my ball sack, get the fuck out of here. I have this weird feeling that 2 of those dudes got in a fight. What over? I don't know. Maybe they were pissed off. They were like, Igor, you did this to us. If you hadn't have fucking made us come up here, and he's like, oh, fuck you, bud. And then they like beat the shit out of each other. Some of the postmortem wounds I think he might be referring to is 2 of the people, and I cannot remember which was which. One of them was a woman. Were found with no eyes and no tongues. And that a lot of people, they fought over your ball sack. Shit. The fight. I think that they fought. One guy climbed a tree. Maybe he fell out. There was like some cliff sides there. They could have fallen. A lot of things could have happened. They could have got hit by that slab avalanche. And here's the thing. They might have heard it coming. Panicked. That's why they cut their way out of the tent. Ran without their shoes on. I mean, like, this is a story that I've really, because it's so well known, I didn't want to talk about it on here. But here we are. Like, they didn't have their shit together because they knew this thing was coming. You could hear it probably. They booked it out of there. Afterwards, after this, it might have hit one of them, 2 of them. After they booked it out of there, they were probably pissed off at each other. Everybody's like panicking. They got in a big fight. Yeah, she's all over up here. And I think they beat the shit out of each other. And then the people that were found without eyes and tongues were found separate from the rest of the group in running water, face down in running water. And the first thing that running water does is decomposes soft tissue. So tongues and eyes would have been the first to go. Lips. You can find pictures of these bodies online. They're out there. Even the gruesome ones. I mean, they're there. I've seen them. They're fucking gross. Also, if there were any fish in these rivers, I don't know if there were, that would be the first stuff that they would go for. They would eat your face right off. So, but I mean, that's not, that theory of mine is not proven, but they were found in running water. No eyes. And so a lot of that is contextual. They say they found radiation on a couple of the people's clothing. I believe the oldest guy, the one who joined later after one of the Yuris left the group, the one with the back problems or whatever, they picked up this other random guy who was quite a bit older, who had been in the military and stuff. They found radiation on their clothes. Well, he worked in a factory with radiation. I mean, it doesn't really, that's not that big of a mystery. I think that a lot of them did die from hypothermia. The reason that some of them were wearing the other one's clothing is after the first guy died, they probably just ripped his clothes off and wore that because they were half dressed. Pretty much, the Russian government here in America, we think they're pretty fucking shady. And I agree. Every government, let's put it that way. They did finally admit that there was a military testing location pretty nearby where they were, and that explained all the lights that people were seeing in the sky and things. They still deny any involvement with this group of people, and one of the previous theories was like a concussive blast from a type of grenade that wouldn't have, or that maybe they were off track enough to where the government thought they were a threat. So there's so much about that case. There's books written about it. One of them was from a guy who was in the military there at the time. And they were testing a lot of weird stuff, but they're pretty sure that that wasn't the cause of their demise. That might have caused the slab avalanche, though, was the military testing a few miles off. Could have, like, some sort of sound or something could have caused the slab avalanche. And a slab avalanche is different than a regular avalanche. Like, a regular avalanche is like all that snow and stuff just pouring downhill, piling on top of people. A slab avalanche, I don't know that much about. I know they only happen in certain conditions, which the conditions were right for where they were staying. It's almost a lateral movement. Not exactly a lateral movement, but it's not as downhill. And it does have the force to hit a person like a car. They would have had time to hear it coming. Maybe not time to run away from it. So that's my breakdown on the Dyatlov Pass. I know there's a lot more to go into that. How people say that the Ural Mountains, I can't remember the word they use, the natives call it Dead Mountain. That's just because there's nothing growing up there. There's not a lot of game there. Dead Mountain was just their way of saying, look, you can't really hunt and fish up there. There ain't shit up there. The natives have gotten into conflicts with people before. Way, way before. They're mostly a peace-loving person. People. They're not just going out hunting people just for fucking fun, So there's a lot of the same theories. Yeah, a lot of similar theories with Dyatlov Pass versus the Khamar-Daban. I always get it backwards. But that's kind of the rundown on that. I'm trying to see how long have we been going here. I don't see a thingy. This is how long I've been streaming for. Oh, 50 minutes? Okay. Yeah, so there's that. So I don't know. It's one of those mysteries we might never solve. Kind of like the Yuba County 5. We'll never know what really happened to that guy, especially to the last guy. What happened to him? Where'd he go? That's usually a red flag in my experience. What's the red flag? Which one? I mean, I just talked about a lot of stuff. So yeah, I do have a little list of other topics. I might move away from the mysteries and move a little bit into the realm of cults. We might talk about Heaven's Gate or maybe the People's Temple. Both ended in tragedy. One was, the Yuba County incident. That's the one I was talking about last week. Yuba County 5. The 5 boys. Oh, Mama, you're not too late. It's all right. Hi, Lewis. Hi, everybody. Yeah, you guys, you missed the conversation. We just talked about another incident of Russian hikers getting dead. One survivor. Nobody knows what happens to him. Yeah. Well, not that bad. I mean, not that bad. But, yeah. And there's the kitty flying all over the place. She's running all over. Okay, now, Sean, that is a disturbing fucking thing. You told me that on the Discord and I almost died. I think I actually burst out laughing. I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me right now? Because if I believe that I remember correctly, you're not that far from where this happened. So for that to be a thing is really fucking sick. And they even had the purple theme in their fucking viewing room or whatever. And I'm like, either these people are clueless or they are capitalizing on that. And I don't know, I think the between Heaven's Gate and the People's Temple there is quite a bit of difference. And I don't want to get too much into it without talking about the cases, but in Heaven's Gate there were no children. That's very important to me. In the Heaven's Gate end was completely voluntary. Everybody could have left at any time. Some of them did. But with the People's Temple, it wasn't that easy. And that was a much, much bigger fucking catastrophe, calamity. I don't even know what you would call that. It's fucking sad. And some of the most disturbing stuff that I had ever heard in my life was the recording of what's commonly referred to as the death tape of Jim Jones preaching during the I don't even want to call it a mass suicide. I really don't. Because those people didn't have a choice. If they wouldn't drink the poison, somebody else would either grab them and inject them with it or shoot them. So suicide to me is a strong word in regards to People's Temple. Certainly a tragedy. That's they sell Nikes on the inside. Yeah, that's pretty fucked up. But you got to have $5.75 left over. Remember that. That's your boarding fee. We'll talk about that. I don't know, Sean. That's one of the things. Maybe I'll talk about both of these and not do such a deep dive, but more of a compare and contrast as to why I feel that they were so different. They both ended in tragedy, but the Heaven's Gate one was less so, in my personal opinion. That probably doesn't feel that way to the families of the people who died. The Blair Witch. Are you referring to the quote unquote lost media of the real Blair Witch, which was a videotape that a bunch of teenagers made? Or are you referring to the Bell Witch haunting, which was supposedly around the same area? The Blair Witch was basically completely made up. The closest one, I think, was the Bell Witch, which haunted that family, especially the old man, and was basically in love with their daughter and stuff. There's a lot of things like that. I'm not gonna lie though, I was 17 when the Blair Witch Project came out. I saw it at the theater with my ex-boyfriend. I didn't sleep for 3 fucking days after I saw that movie because you know how the viral media thing was back then with the found footage. I thought it was real. I'm not gonna lie, I got brought in by all that. And yeah, the lost media site, that's what I'm talking about. That scared the holy living fucking shit out of me. Like, not as bad. There's something worse that scared me in my life, but that was way up there, and it scared me so fucking bad. I by the 3rd day, I was like hallucinating from not sleeping, and I begged my ex-boyfriend, please sleep at my house. I can't fucking sleep. I'm terrified. The town does want people to stop visiting there because they're going in there and they're vandalizing shit. Like, they steal their road signs, they go in their graveyard and knock shit over and spray paint shit. Like, if you want to be a tourist, that's one thing, but don't fuck things up. Like, I want to visit Maine and visit a lot of the locations that are referred to in Stephen King's books. And even though a lot of those places are fictionalized versions, they correspond with a real life place. Yeah, the real incident, there are other, like, quote unquote witches from that area. But the real incident you're referring to, I know I've heard about this. I'd have to look more into that, of the people being found dead, like with their guts all ripped out and stuff. Amityville Horror never really scared me. I think I felt that was bullshit. Like, the original book scared the shit out of me because I read it when I was like 9. The stuff about looking out the window and seeing the eyes out the window, that stuff scared the holy fuckballs out of me. Since we're already on the topic, the movies that scared me the worst in my entire life, there's, besides the one that we're talking about now, The Blair Witch scared me really bad. That was probably number 2 on my list. The Exorcist, the like re-released version, scared the fuck out of me. I ended up sleeping with my mom for like a week after I watched that. Because she never, I've been into horror since I was a kid. And that was one of those movies my mom's like, don't ever fucking watch this movie. And I'm like, okay. Well, then I was like 17 again. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch this now. And it scared the holy shit out of me. That scene where she's upside down, crab walking, and the blood comes out of her mouth scared me so fucking bad I about lost my mind. You live there and you want to go to where it was actually filmed? That would be something that would be interesting. They filmed it on like this really tiny little area. It was basically somebody's backyard. It was like literally 20 feet away. You could actually see the tree line, and there was a highway like right there, and it was in some dude's backyard. That movie was ridiculous. Once you look at the behind the scenes stuff from it. Yeah, she's all over. She runs all over, jumps all over. She loves attention. The sequels to the Blair Witch, sequels, prequels, remakes, blah blah blah, did not have the same effect. They were not good. So you had The Exorcist, which was a whole big another like the internet and social media wasn't a thing back then when The Exorcist was released, but there was a lot of like hype about it, like somebody died while they were watching this in the theater. I don't think they actually did. It wasn't dramatic like that. The Ouija board thing, that was just considered a joke, like a game. People messed around with it before The Exorcist came out, and then afterwards, that's some evil shit. Don't fuck with it. Don't touch it. And so there was a really hard line between this is a game, this is nobody cares about it, to evil, evil, evil. And I find that very interesting. Concept of a forest that changes and adapts to keep you from escaping. That is a good concept. I never really thought of it that way. I always thought that was a perception from within the characters themselves, like that they were going in circles, but they weren't meaning to. So I never really considered it as the forest itself was changing. I always thought of it as they were perceiving it to be so, and they were just going in circles. White man can't jump. Dude, no, he can't. So there's that, and I'm gonna totally overshare with this, and I'm sorry for it. The movie that fucked me up the most was The Ring. God damn, I feel so dumb even saying that. I saw it at the theater on Thanksgiving Day with my ex-husband. I was, I believe, 23 years old. And that movie traumatized the holy living shit out of me. Paranormal Activity scared me pretty good, but not as bad as that movie was really like, wow, that was really good and pretty scary, but not like I literally, that movie fucked me up so bad. I literally saw a psychiatrist after I saw it. Like 3 weeks later, when I was all sleep deprived and cracked out from not sleeping, I had to stay up until the sun came up every night. Every time the phone rang, I almost pissed my pants. Even to this day, if I have a TV that has like a big reflection on it, I have to cover it with something. I cannot have a TV in my bedroom. I think I'm over that a little bit because we do have a screen in there now. It doesn't really bother me. Yeah, Matt, that could be true. I never really considered it that much, I guess. And but then when I saw this psychiatrist, like, this is the dumbest thing ever. Like, I saw this movie and it fucked me up. She told me that around that period of time in a person's life, you do have this time, most people's brains and everything are developed. She told me that there's a time in your life in your early 20s where your brain does some sort of weird forging of new connections. And she said there was just something about that just cross-wired those new connections and just fucked me up. And still to this day, like, I watch a lot of like what culture and marvelous videos, and anytime they talk about it, I just fast forward right past it. I actually have a copy of that movie. I've seen it a couple of times since then, and it still makes me want to literally vomit every time I think about it. Faces of Death. Dude, Sean, I remember by the time I saw Faces of Death, I had watched, so that was another one of those forbidden movies that I ended up like renting from the video store with my buddy's dad, who was an adult, you know, and they would let us check it out, and watching it in the middle of the night while my parents were asleep. I think I was old enough to realize that a lot of that shit was fake. A lot of it was either fake or, yeah, I don't know. I think by the time I actually saw Faces of Death, I was so, any of those Mondo films, I was so jaded to all the shit that I'd already seen that it was nothing to me. I was 13 then, and you're a little, I think I was like 9, maybe 11 when I saw Faces of Death for the first time. I was definitely younger than I should have been seeing that. See, Days, and that's where it doesn't really, real life does have a lot of scary elements. And that's a lot of what we're talking about here on this channel is kind of the scary things, the cults and the killers and the grave diggers and the mysterious deaths and fucking missing 411 and all that stuff. But that's, honestly, that stuff doesn't really scare me. The paranormal shit scares me. The stuff that is beyond the physical realm that you can't control. Like the paranormal stuff is the stuff, like a serial killer breaks in here, I could fucking shoot him, I could stab his ass, I could take Lucille to his face, you know, like, but a ghost, what do you fucking do with a ghost? And it's weird because seeing all that weird shit throughout my life, like thinking I'm seeing ghosts all the time, it doesn't really scare me anymore. But it's when you get into those horror movies and yeah, oh yeah, mommy, that would be just fucking horrific. It's where that kind of goes out of the realm of control. So like think about Nightmare on Elm Street. Okay, those movies were pretty fucking dumb. The first one scared you, don't even lie, everybody. If you were young, if you're of that generation, you know that shit scared the shit out of you. Because you couldn't defend yourself from Freddy. You had to sleep sometime. And he was going to get you. IRL, greater than fiction in terms of horror. Again, the thought that a lot of this stuff really happens is really sad, and the thought that it could happen to any one of us is pretty sad. But it's, I don't know, it just doesn't hit me in the same way. There was the most recent movie that really fucked me up was this movie called Lake Mungo, Mungo, Lake Mungo. It's about a girl who drowns, and it's shot in kind of a documentary style. Not quite found footage, but it's more like somebody was shooting a documentary on this family after the death of the daughter. And there's a lot of weird twists in that movie. I'm not going to give it away, but it's The Human Centipede 2. Jesus Christ. Alright, if you're not into disturbing movies and disturbing shit in general, do not fucking watch The Human Centipede 2. Like, listen to me. Do not watch it. It's grotesque as fuck. Of course, I did watch it. Like, instantly after the first one. So, yeah, that's all of, I don't know. Certain stuff gives me certain images from movies. One of the only instances of sleep paralysis, it was either sleep paralysis or a dream, was after I watched the movie Audition, which is a foreign film about a guy who meets a woman through auditioning a bunch of women, and she tortures him and cuts his leg off with the fucking piano wire. In this sleep paralysis or whatever, I was laying in my bed and I couldn't fucking move. I'm 50-50 on whether it was a dream. Sallow, I'm not even gonna lie, I have heard so much about it, but I never actually watched it. I heard it's pretty gross. I'm not gonna talk about that. Mainly because I haven't seen it, but I've heard through other people, like there's a lot of movies I haven't actually seen that are on the most disturbing list, like Necromantic, Sallow. Oh shit, the one about Jesus. You know which one I'm talking about? I can't think of the name of it. Human Centipede 3 was just the dumbest shit ever. It was pretty funny to watch, though. And that was one of those things where you watch it once and you're like, okay, worth my time, but not worth watching it again. Yeah, Sean, and the thing is that I watch a lot of this stuff, and I would probably watch a lot more of it, but I don't know where to find it. Because I'm not into the deep web, dude. I'm not touching that shit. And hard copies of videos, where the fuck do you get that? Like, I don't leave my house. So, once or twice a month. Oh, you would get sleep paralysis twice a month? Jesus Christ, dude. I have narcolepsy and I don't remember ever having it. Did you see anything horrible? See, that's what I'm talking about, Sean. Torrent. Anything with torrenting, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know how to do that stuff. But, yeah, see, I just don't know enough about it to fuck with it. And I don't want to fuck with that. Like, I've heard too many probably made up bullshit stories about the deep web. I don't want to go down that road, if that makes sense at all. Did you ever have any, with your sleep paralysis, Lewis, did you ever have any, like, horror shit? Did you ever see the Hat Man or fucking Shadow Man or bugs crawling all over your shit? Because the one time that I'm not sure if it was sleep paralysis or a dream, I'm 50-50. It was that chick from Audition, and she comes running in my bedroom door with that fucking piano wire in her hand, like, ah, and I'm like, ah, but I couldn't really scream because I couldn't move. And then she just blipped out, and all of a sudden I'm like awake, but I still couldn't fucking move for like 5 minutes, and then all of a sudden I could, and I'm like, well, that was weird. No, I mean, like you were saying you used to have sleep paralysis. Did you ever see anything when you were having an episode? Like a lot of people say they hear things or see things when they're having sleep paralysis. No, don't worry about that. No, movies, man. Movies get to me. Sometimes books can get to me, not usually though. I grew up like since I was a little kid. Sorry, I bite my nails. Not really my nails, but I it's weird. I grew up reading my mom's scary books from a very young age to where a lot, like contextually, I didn't get a lot of the stuff. Like sex scenes in books didn't mean anything to me. I was 8 years old, like sneaking my mom's books out of her room with a flashlight under the blankets. And now I have a complex. 9 years old, reading Stephen King's It definitely gave me a thing about clowns. And then, of course, a year later, it was fucking Tim Curry in the made for TV movie that scared the ever loving shit out of me. Oh my god, that's funny, Matt. That's funny. I love that book. I'm literally going to get a tattoo of the paper boat with the balloon attached to it. I actually have that book right here somewhere. It's not on this shelf. I have a copy of it. I've read everything by Stephen King except for some of his most recent books. Anybody that knows me knows I'm fucking obsessed with Stephen King. All my tattoos are Stephen King related. I got this pop-up book back here, Stephen King books here. I got a whole shelf over there. Like everything. Oh, you wake up before your body does? Okay, well, hey, that's good. I mean, I've heard a lot of horrifying shit about that. So, yeah, and I was even talking to my husband about I wish there was some way to capitalize on this Stephen King obsession because it's what I know the best in my life out of everything that I know. Like, I can't remember what I ate for breakfast yesterday, but I can remember character names, their last names, their family trees, the dates. Like, I'm such a scatterbrain about everything, but I've read these books so much. Yeah, I was twisted as a kid, too. I really was. So I've read all these books so much. Like, I collect them now. I collect Stephen King stuff. I wish there was a way to make the most out of that. Like, I thought about making a different channel and either doing discussions of Stephen King books or I don't know, something. I really like to make that a thing for me because it's what I know. And I watch a lot of videos about him. So anyway, that's And all the time I go off, I'm like, oh, that reminds me of this Stephen King story. That reminds me of this Stephen King story. That's just like in this one. Blah, 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 blah. I go off about it all the time. I'm sure it's fucking annoying. It is what it is. But I've like obsessed over them since I was 8 years old, and I read the first Stephen King book I ever read was The Eyes of the Dragon, which I literally have right here, the same actual copy. My mom gave me all of her Stephen King books. It's pretty torn up. It's old. Right here. The first one I ever read. So it's really old and worn out. I've read it so many times. It's kind of like a dark fairy tale almost. About poisonings and wizards and dragons. Douglas Adams. I'm not even really familiar with his work. I'm not really familiar with a lot of authors, actually. I've read a lot of Clive Barker. The Dragonlance books. Those are kind of young adult books. I don't even consider that adult reading. I read a lot of those. So Clive Barker. I've read a lot of Anne Rice. The Vampire Chronicles. Everybody's familiar with. Any brown dragons? I don't think so. Oh, okay. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I bought that set for... Yeah, shut up. Shut up, you fucker. I can hear you in there. I bought that book set for Tony. I picked it up. I tried to read it. I was like, oh, this isn't my style. Anything chest. Well, that's more of a... Lewis, that's more of a, like... That's like a triggering event for you in relation to what you just said. And so I could see how that would be so terrifying. Yeah, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. That I don't know if it was the writing style, because, and I'll admit, Stephen King is not, what's the word? Very sophisticated. He has literally referred to himself as the Big Mac and fries of the literary world. So, you're not in for a intellectual read. I mean, you're really not. I'll be real here. But, Clive Barker is quite a bit more, what's the word I'm looking for here? I don't want to say intelligent. His books are a little bit more, they're more deep and thought-provoking, and they're not quite as superficially horror. They're written more eloquently. And I don't know. Clive Barker was, I have read a lot of his stuff, not a ton. But the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I could not get into the story. The way it was written was so sporadic. That's the word I was looking for. It's like, it'd be like if I wrote a book. I have fucking, okay, I'm not diagnosed with like ADHD, but it's so all over the place. It's like somebody with ADHD was given a bunch of crack and sat down and wrote that book. Dude, Sean, are you kidding? Okay, like, well, I guess some of his later stuff seems more suspenseful, like Mr. Mercedes. That whole trilogy was pretty more suspense. Things like The Dead Zone, I guess, I don't know. He has some straight up horror shit. I mean, look at it. Look at fucking... Oh my god, now I'm going out. I mean, he kind of crossed genres too, because he has like the Tommyknockers, which was sci-fi. Dolores Claiborne, that was there was no horror element to that. That was a straight up I guess suspense would be correct. Oh, The Shining? Come on, that's full on horror. Say hi, baby. Say hi to the people. Look over here. No, she's not gonna do it. But Misery, I was just talking to Tony about Misery like 2 days ago. That's not really horror. That's more of like a more suspense or thriller or whatever you would call it. And then there are books that are technically in the horror genre that I don't consider horror, like Cabal by Clive Barker, which is one of my favorite books. And the cat just knocked over a bunch of shit. And now there's a cat fight. Okay, I got you. I got you guys. Hey, cats. Psst, psst. So yeah, the cat just knocked over a bunch of crafting stuff I had over here. So
Move.
yeah, Misery is a good one. Hi,
What?
Kenny.
Gabby, get the fuck out of here, you ass.
No, Gabby didn't knock all that stuff over. Baby did. But yeah, Misery. Misery is they made an excellent movie out of that. And that's
I'm watching you.
don't watch, you're creeping me out. He's creeping me out. My ultimate favorite Stephen King books are the Dark Tower series.
Hey, hon.
You know what he just did to me? He just stood in the doorway and fucking flopped his dick around. Dick and balls, twig and berries, flopping all over the place. Thought a Tommy knocker entered. And it smells like he's burning something. Hey, you're burning something. So yeah, that's my favorite Stephen King books are the Dark Tower series. It's long and convoluted, and I can't understand more than simple math, but I can understand this entire fucking convoluted bullshit universe. It wasn't quite a helicopter. It wasn't going all the way around. It was just going up and down. Like, looked like this. And Sean, I'm telling you right now, man, I hit that Vietnamese coffee today, and I'm wired as fuck right now. Oh, here's another one. Here's another kitty. This is Grumpy Gabby. She's old. She's about 15. Say hi. She wants the pettins. She's Grumpy Gabby. Whenever you pick her up, she's like, meow. I hate life. I hate you. I hate everything. So, well, I guess that's about it, you guys. I'll probably end up fucking off here. And again, if anybody is a Stephen King fan and wants to talk about or speculate or debate or have I heard of the back rooms? Hell yeah, I've been watching Kane Pixel's fucking back room series with bated breath, dude. Like, I'm subscribed to that. I only have like 50 subs on my YouTube that I subscribe to, and he's one of them. A lot of people talk about the back rooms, but that one is the only one that I really, really liked. Yeah, I like ARGs, which is something that God, they've been around forever. I'm fucking old. I'm like your grandma, okay? You know that one grandma that's like, I don't want to get on that internet and blah, blah, blah. Like, I find things way later. Like, I just realized what ARGs were, like, literally 1 year ago, maybe. And some of them are so good. Some of them not so good. Oh, Lewis, I'm telling you right now, I'm the person you want for that. Straight up, we need a collab if you're going to do it. Because I'm like you know how people have that thing? That's my thing. So, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it pisses a lot of people. Like, Tony, I'm sure it fucking annoys the hell out of him. Like I said, I have all the Stephen King stuff all over my fucking house. So if you're wanting to talk about a specific subject, if you bring it up, I can. The books in the last like 2 years, I'm not gonna lie, I've not read his most recent output, but anything before that, especially some of the earlier things, I've read those books dozens of times over. That's a good time to get into things when a great majority of people have hopped off of it. Yeah, his older work, the farther back you go, the better I know it. So, I mean, some of the newest stuff, I'm not going to lie, are not really my cup of tea. I think the book that really killed it for me was a collab he did with his son, Sleeping Beauties. I struggled my ass through that book. I did finish it. Down for conversation? Yeah, hit me up. That book sucked ass. I'm not gonna lie. I hated it. I don't even know what about it specifically I hated. Sleeping Beauties fucking sucked. And I'm in a bunch of these Stephen King groups, and everybody's like, oh my God, I loved it. No, it sucked. All right, everybody, I'm kind of winding down here. I'm kind of like, not that I'm running out of things to talk about, but I'm like just sort of spiraling off into my own fucking madness here. And oh, I did read all of the Game of Thrones books. And guess what? Those fucking sucked too. They were so dry. So goddamn dry. I mean, overall, I think they were good to read. And there was a couple of reasons why I thought that they weren't that good. There were a lot of differences from the show, in which, granted, anytime you take a book to a show, they warp the shit out of it. I mean, look what they did to fucking Under the Dome. That had nothing to do with the book. Like, the first episode did, but after that it didn't. But that doesn't really bother me. The books came before the movies, obviously. But you could obviously tell that George R.R. Martin had no clue where he was going with those. It was just like this dry fucking... What was that? He just pounded the door open and pounded it back closed again. My least favorite author? Who was the guy that wrote Battlefield Earth? Because that book fucking
You're talking
sucked.
out your ass with that.
Dude, I read all those books. Did you read them all?
Huh?
Did you read them all?
He has a whole fucking goddamn history fucking book. A whole one.
All
You're
that
saying
history.
he's writing out of his ass and not knowing where he was going is absolute bullshit.
He even admits he didn't know where he was going to go. Okay,
At the last couple, yes.
I'm telling you, it was dry. Least favorite author? I can't really think of one. Fuck off. I can't really think of a least favorite author. Most books I will force myself to finish. Battlefield Earth was one that I just could not fucking finish. L. Ron Hubbard, that's the guy. Fuck him. And fuck his fucking cult, too. Fucking dumbasses. What constitutes a good Stephen King book? I can't answer that on the fly. I really can't. I like a lot of character development. I like relatable characters. I feel like most authors who write, and this is kind of sexist sounding, but most male authors cannot write from a female point of view. And I think he has his moments where it's like, God damn, nobody really thinks that. But I think like Rose Madder, that was pretty fucking good. I mean, I think about the part in Rose Madder where that black chick pisses on that guy. And that's what I always picture doing to Gigi. Like, fucking just stomp him down and piss on him. Piss right in his face. And there's something about that moment that just, I fucking loved it. What made the collaboration with his son not work? I'm not sure if it's because the writing styles were so completely different. Because he has collabs that work. Look at The Talisman. Look at Black House. The Talisman was a fucking masterpiece, and that was done with Peter Straub. I don't know, but you can really tell the difference between the writing styles. You can tell what parts were written by which author. Not all the time, but a lot of the time. In The Talisman and Black House, you can tell it a little bit, but it seemed like, and I don't know if this was editing or for the greater good, fuck your personal cover. I could really tell the difference in the segments that were written by King versus the ones that were written by his son. And also, I felt like the story it didn't grab you. There was no real character development. It was so... There was so much build up to this one event at the end. I mean, and that's every book has a climax. Every book has... I think that's where I'm really going with that, is that I'm not sure if it was the story itself that was weak or if it was poorly executed. I don't know. I just didn't feel anything about it. It didn't provoke any emotions in me. And that might have been partially within myself too, but I just struggled with it. You knock that plant off of there and you're going to be not very happy. But like you look at books and I'm saying, well, it took so long to get to the point. Well, then you have this fucking monstrosity right here. like 1,400 fucking pages long, and I couldn't get enough of it. I would read 10,000 more pages of this. So whatever he did right with this, I don't understand how he did. Hang on, I don't want to knock a bunch of shit off trying to put this back.
Dinner's ready.
Ah!
Dinner's ready whenever you're done.
So, you know, I feel like Sleeping Beauties was way too long. That could have been a novella or a novelette. And it's not the length that bothers me in most stories because, you know, what is it? He says, he actually quotes us himself in his own book, in The Dark Tower 6, I believe. Stephen King writes by the inch and America buys it by the pound. A Pear Report on the Stand and the comparison to Alice in Wonderland. All right. Stephen King is a notorious ripper off of other stories, and he admits it. He says right in one of those Dark Tower books, I'd have to look back to see which one. I think it might be like the 5th one. This is a direct ripoff of The Lord of the Rings. Like, he actually says it in there. I don't know what really makes a good book. I guess I really don't either. I know what I like. I don't know. If a story is engrossing to me and interesting, I could read it forever. I mean, those Dark Tower books, I had them on a loop. It was... The series itself is 8 books and 1 novelette but the last one he wrote was a tie-in, and he read it himself on the audio, so it just fucked me all up because I listened to these while I slept. It was a 7-book series on a loop, and I listened to these, and I kid you not, for 10 fucking years straight at night. Now I'm on other stuff. I listen to other stuff while I sleep. Grassy ass. So I lost where I was going with that. I know those stories like the back of my hand. I can't get enough of that. I've read the comics. I've read every single thing. I've been on the forums online. I had a whole back piece tattoo planned out. It's almost a fucking borderline obsession. Yeah. So, yeah, you're welcome, Deus, you fucking jerk. I was like, I had a thought in my mind, and then I looked down, and it went. But, so yeah, that's just some rambling on Stephen King. I could go on that shit all day. Yeah. And then not only do we have the written word, but then there are the adaptations and books written on the books. So there's books about books, like the Dark Tower Concordance. There's the revised Dark Tower Concordance, which is like the last 3 books, like, because there was such a big gap in between the first books and then the last 4, that there was actually more. I don't know. So that I could go on about this shit all day or night or whatever. But I think I'm going to end it. And I can hear my own voice, and it's very distracting. All right, so everybody think about things you want to talk about for future topics. I liked this kind of rambling, just bullshitting around that we're doing. That's fun. That's something you should talk about one of these days. Which one? Which one, Lewis? I lost it. I don't know if it was too far back or... What makes a good book? I don't know. And I don't know if that's something that I could answer because different people like different things. Oh, shit, no. But when we're talking about that, see, that's a whole different ballgame. I'll stream all fucking day talking about Stephen King, and I don't care who's watching, who's not watching. Like, that's my jam. What got you into him? Maybe I'll fucking devote a stream to it. Straight up, because I can talk about that all day. Yeah. All right, everybody. This is Nurse Joy signing off, and thanks for coming to another night shift. Yeah, so you can look up Movie Discussion with Film Nerd. I've seen a lot of the movies. I've seen a lot of the movies a lot of times. So that would be I don't know how familiar he would be with the source material, and a lot of that's what I have as basis for comparison. You have movies like, see, I was just getting ready to end it, and here I go on another tangent. You have movies like Stand By Me, The Shawshank Redemption, The Green Mile, Misery. Perfection, so good. Then you have things like the made-for-TV thing, the Under the Dome, which was utter horse shit. You have some of them are made for TV, and that affects it. Because you can't get away with a lot on TV, at least depending on what channels you're looking at. You know, they've made movies out of almost everything. You got The Shining, the original, and the remake. The Stanley Kubrick one was a fucking good movie, but it was not true to the source material. Dolores Claiborne, that movie was pretty good, also starring Kathy Bates. It wasn't really horror, so it might not be something that people are into. And I'm just randomly picking books off the shelf right now and pointing them out. You got like Christine, they made a movie out of that. It's a John Carpenter classic now. Was it kind of crappy and cheesy? A little bit. You know, you got Pet Sematary. I'm not going to get started on that. I'm not going down that road tonight. Cujo, same thing. Not going to talk about Cujo. I mean, all these movies, you had The Dead Zone. It had fucking Christopher Walken in it. Most of those movies were so good, but then there are ones that were shit. And I'm trying, The Dark Tower. My fucking God, if you haven't watched that movie, do not waste the hour and a half of your life, because you'll never get it back, and it sucked big asshole. And that's my final thought on that. Matthew McConaughey couldn't save that movie, even though he was my dream casting for the character that was poorly written. The Langoliers, come on, dude, I love that movie. It was pretty true to the source material. Craig Toomey, the actor who played Craig Toomey, fucking just blew it away. You know, fucking Dick Miller was in that. Oh my God, the CGI was so laughably bad, though. And that book was actually pretty terrifying. Yeah, that book was actually pretty terrifying. Like, the suspense of it. And that was a suspense-based kind of sci-fi thing. I don't think people give that book enough credit. Shawshank was your favorite. Yep, that's really not horror based at all. I don't even know I'd actually consider that to be a drama. And then Stand By Me, also not horror. More, again, drama. Like the coming of age story based on a true event of him and his friends swimming in a river or something, and they came out all covered with leeches. That's where that story came from. Didn't care for his horror myself. And that's to each their own. You know, some people don't like it. You can't compare it to the book. I loved how cheesy it looked. The book was actually like a novella. It was in 4 Past Midnight. It was the first installment, the first one in that book. What was the other one? There was The Sundog was also, there was four novellas in that book. The Sundog, they've never made a movie out of. It was about a camera that contained like an evil dog spirit. I don't know, it was weird. Oh, let's see what else was in there. Secret Window, Secret Garden, which they did make a movie out of, starring Johnny Depp, which was basically another version of The Dark Half. If you've read The Dark Half, you've read Secret Window, Secret Garden. But the movie was just called Secret Window, which was a decent adaptation. Oh, shit. Yeah, Lewis, you do. And what was the 4th one? Fuck. I don't want to have to look. Sundog, Langoliers. Fuck. I'm gonna have to look. And I know I'm gonna be like, oh shit. The Sundog. The Library Policeman. Yeah, okay. There's a reason why I didn't talk about The Library Policeman. I didn't read that story until a couple of years ago. Honestly, I don't know why You stole my story. Yeah, that's John Shooter. Fucking John Shooter with his country bumpkin accent. The Library Policeman is a definite big trigger warning. Sexual child abuse on there. Very, very fucking, what's the term I'm looking for? Explicitly described child abuse. Hardcore, hard to read. Fuck that story. I hate it. Two actors that never worked together you want to see star in a movie together. I don't know if they never worked together, but there are a lot of actors that I really, really like. I like Anthony Hopkins. He's getting up there in age. Willem Dafoe. Shit. Same thing with almost all the actors that I like are pretty much dated. They're older. Like Kathy Bates was the perfection in Misery, and Dolores Claiborne too. She really portrays those characters so fucking well. But I don't know about two that have never worked together. I'm really not that much into. I like a lot of movies. We talk about a lot of movies. I don't. I can't think of any that I would even like to really see in any movies because all the actors that I like are fucking old now. I kind of have like dream casts of different movies that I wish that they would make. Like there, and it's a big thing we do online on like the Facebook Stephen King groups. We talk about who would be your dream cast for this, who would be your dream cast for that, to the point where they actually like ban that shit in the groups. They're like, no more of that. That's enough of that. But like for the Dark Tower, who would you have play the gunslinger? Like the Dark Tower. I mean, I think I said the Dark Half. For the Dark Tower, like I would think that if they could age regress Clint Eastwood, he was literally based on his appearance in like the man with no face or whatever, man with no name, no face. I'm having a moment. Kevin's uploading at 4 a.m. hiding from you. Yeah, you should pop that on there, Lewis. Yeah, I you know how they did that thing with Avatar, how they did that, like it's almost computer generation, but then they like age regress, what's her name? Sigourney Weaver. They could do that with Clint Eastwood and have him star as that Mads Mikkelsen. Use Clint's kid. That okay, because I know I've talked to you about this. I even sent Eugene pictures of Clint's kid raving about how fucking good he looks. Like not like in the sense I think he's hot or anything. I mean he looks all right. But that like he would be perfect for this. Like his dad's too old. We could do this. But that book is so fantastical. I don't think that you could. And yeah, I use that word. I don't think that conventional movie means would be able to make that. The technology is improving. That's true. There's like one of the main characters is actually who wasn't even introduced in the movie. That horrible rotten piece of shit. Like whoever, if for some weird reason, whoever made those movies ever hears this, fuck yourselves and fuck your crappy movie. There's like 6 characters that weren't even major characters. I mean, that are in every single book that weren't even introduced there. Like they just completely omitted 99% of that entire story and characters. Like where, what, why did you do that? You know, the people who are the fans, the true fans, if that movie was good, which they couldn't have done it in one movie, they should have did it like they did Harry Potter, straight up, make like 8 movies of it. If that movie was good, I would have went to the theater and saw it 7 fucking times. I would have drugged my mom with me to see it too. Like, I would have bought it when it came out instantly. I would have bought the special editions. I would have bought the digital version. I would have bought, you know what I'm saying? I would have bought all the merch that went with it. But they fucked it up because they wanted to get the widest possible audience. Well, guess what? Your movie flopped and it was a piece of shit. And I'm very fucking passionate about that because I've been waiting for that movie to come out for literally as long as I can remember. Soft spot for Man on Fire because a lot of it takes place in El Paso, and seeing some places I recognize made me smile. I don't think I ever saw that. I think I did see that movie, but I don't remember it. Denzel Washington's all right. He's not like in my huge list of top movie people. Yeah, thanks, Disney. Yeah, fuck them too. Mads Mikkelsen. Yeah. Okay, straight up. Yeah, I would be the meat in that sandwich too. Not gonna lie. They're pretty hot. Especially fucking... I have this thing about the character of Hannibal Lecter. He's so cultured and so intelligent. And yeah. And so I don't really consider him as an actor to be overly attractive, Mads Mikkelsen, but again, that character just really does it for me. And I mean, I don't know. It's like he's psychopathic. Like he doesn't have. I don't know. That's a whole different fucking. That's a whole different can of worms to open up. Insanely hot as Hannibal. Wait. You mean in Hannibal Rising, the young guy? I don't know. He looked all right. I'm fucking too old, dude. He's basically a kid in that movie. Like I'm at the point where like younger dudes like that, they look like little kids to me. But so yeah, I'm getting old. The can of worms. So I don't know. Now we're talking about other movie characters. Like I've always had these weird like crushes on weird movie characters, like fucking David Bowie in Labyrinth. Like what the fuck was that? Like, and I kind of had this weird thing for Pinhead when I was younger. Like, it's just the weirdest bizarre shit. Like, I don't know, weird shit. Back to work, huh? Back to week. All right, Godspeed there, Deus, and Casino Royale. See, I never even fucking saw that. I basically don't watch a lot of movies unless they're horror movies, or I don't watch a lot of action movies. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I guess I watch a lot of like superhero movies, like those fucking ungodly Marvel fucking crap movies, which I do like, and I also have the ridiculous hots for Loki, Tom Hiddleston Loki. Fucking just wait, do what? Yeah, I watch a lot of. I don't know. I don't watch a lot of dramas. I don't watch a lot of strictly action movies, even though I guess one of my favorite movies is fucking Terminator 2, which I guess would be technically sci-fi, but yeah, whatever. All right, well, I am gonna get off of here because I'm starting to have to go to the bathroom because of all that Vietnamese fucking coffee that I drank. Thank you, Sean. You know, I'm like trash talking it, but damn, I love the stuff. I'm sweating. Raised on Marvel, so she's okay, Lewis. Yeah, well, you like know the comic books, and I'm not even gonna lie, the comic books are not my thing. But did like the movies, most of them. They're starting to get a little ridiculous as we go along. They're not. I don't think they're putting as much thought into. Like the first Thor movie was all right. The only thing I really cared about in that movie was that I thought Loki was hot as fuck. Thor Ragnarok, that movie is so fucking good. Like it had a great story, a great cast. Like that was really actually a good movie, and it had Loki in it. Like basically after, which one was it? Endgame, the one where they fought Thanos. After that, I'm done. I'm over that.
Hi.
Within the first 5 minutes of that movie, I'm like, peace out. I'm fucking out. Spoiler alert. Major character death. And fuck off. I'm out. I'm done. Hey, bud.
Hi.
Hi. All right, everybody. I'm going to get off of here. Gina Davis. Yeah, she was great in Howard the Duck. That was her, right? That was Gina Davis, right? No, that was that fucking... That was a moment. Now, who the fuck was that? Leah Thompson? Was that her? I fucking love that movie. Howard the Duck was technically a fucking comic book movie. Anyway, okay, everybody, I'm really leaving now. Everybody have fun. She was in Beetlejuice. Yes, that's correct. That was a dumb moment. Should have known that. I love Tim Burton too. In fact, I have so much Nightmare Before Christmas shit all over my house. All right, everybody, have a good night. And we will be back. Let's see here. What day is today? I'm not sure what we're doing on the next weekend. I know that Tony wanted to go on a camping trip, so I'm going to tentatively say not this weekend coming up. Yeah, I know. That's how you know you're having fun, because you're like, okay, I really got to go, but I don't really want to. But I didn't even really want to stream today. I was like, oh, fucking stream. Let's just set the day for next Saturday, not this coming Saturday, but the one after that. Dude, don't even. We're gonna fight now. We're gonna fight after this. Well, I'll just say next Saturday, and if we do, we do, and if we don't, we don't. If we end up going camping, I won't stream, but I will let everybody know. And Nightmare Before Christmas does not suck donkey dick. You just don't like it because it's so mainstream. I saw that shit when it was in theaters when I was like 10, and it hit me in a, I don't know, it hit me in a different way. All right, bye everybody. I guess I should look at the camera, not the computer. Good night.